Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the J Anthony YouTube channel, man. I'm super excited to be here today because today is January 1st, 2024. So happy New Year from yours truly, J Anthony, man. Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the J Anthony YouTube. Welcome to the J Anthony YouTube. Welcome to the J Anthony YouTube channel. Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the J Anthony YouTube channel. J Anthony checking in with y'all today, man. So welcome to the channel. If you are new here, I am J Anthony. I'm the owner and founder of J Anthony's Auto Sales. I founded this company in 2019. 2024 will officially mark me being in business for a full 5 years. So we will be doing a 5-year, year-over-year tracking on my business today. So welcome, and class is in session. All right, guys. So right here, we're gonna start with 2019. This is the year that I started J Anthony's Auto Sales. I really started in 2018. So as you can see, some of these columns here will have NA because they're not available because I don't have enough information from 2018 to track year over year. So with that being said, we will start with sales revenue. As you'll see here, 2019 sales revenue, I did $311,390. So sales revenue is total sales. That is not a profit margin. That is not a profit number. So remember that when you're seeing sales revenue, that's just total. That's like, let's say I sell a truck for $10,000. Sales revenue from that is $10,000. That is not net profit. That is not net income. So moving on from that, here, total units sold in 2019, I sold 71 units. So total units, so I mean obvious, that's how many vehicles I sold in 2019. Moving on from that, ROI. ROI is return on investment. My ROI is by percentage. So here I did an ROI of 18.76%. Now remember this number as we go through all of this today because this is a very important number. And actually, this whole entire diaphragm today, this whole 5-year radius right here, will all result back to this number, the original 2019 number. So keep this number in mind. ROI is return on investment. For example, return on investment. If I invest $5,000 and I make $1,000 profit, that is me making a 20% ROI. You know, just to break that down a little better. Year over year ROI. This is, I cannot have this figure because it's NA, not available, because 2018 I do not have an ROI because I was not in business for the entire year of 2018. So it would be unfair for me to do a year over year ROI from 2018 to 2019. It wouldn't be realistic. Although I did sell a few vehicles in 2018, but it just doesn't count because I wasn't in business for the full year. So year over year sales revenue is also not available. But year over year, guys, it's just 12 months. You're just tracking the business from a 12-month span. January to January, you know what I'm saying? Or January to December. You track that and then you compare it to your next January and December. All right, so next we got net income. Net income is what I was referring to back at the top compared to sales revenue. Net income will be profit. That is how much you profited. And I put plus or minus here because you can take losses in business. Your net income can be negative or your net income can be positive. And I'm doing this number by percentage because I am not directly telling you how much I made. I'm just doing it by percentage of what I increased in my income. Although if you're good enough at math, you'll be able to figure out what I make if you're good enough at math because I'm pretty much giving you all of the plugins to solve for X anyway. But 2020, all right, sales revenue, $787,733. That was my sales revenue for 2020. Total units sold, 117. My ROI was 14.1%. My year over year, right here, ROI, I went down 4.66%. So very important right here. I want to kind of talk on this a little bit because you got to understand the reason why I went down in my ROI right here is because my mentality shifted into selling more units because I started to learn more. I started to get more aggressive in the business. So I started to not necessarily settle for less money. I was probably making fair enough margins, but it was just about moving units. Versus here, although I was making smaller margins, but I was making smaller investments. So here to here is very important because what happened was inflation, guys. You talking about me buying trucks for $3,000 and being able to sell them for $5,000. Well, here you could sell a truck for $8,000 and sell it for $10,000, which is the same margin, but it's like it makes the ROI go down because you're having to put out more money to make the same margin. I hope that makes sense. So year over year sales revenue went up by 153%, which is insane. Like, guys, put yourself in my shoes for a second. Right here, 2019, this is what, 5 years ago, starting from January. So imagine myself at 20 years old and my income bumps up by 153%. Imagine the type of mind frame that you go into with that type of increase. So keep that in mind as you're going through these charts. These are charts me early in age, so you have to understand my mentality through this time too, because I'm going to tie into that as well throughout this video. So my net income went up by 97%. Guys, again, put yourself in my shoes. You're 21, 20 years old, and you're working your job, right? I'm going to take it out from a business perspective. I'm going to put it in a 9-to-5 perspective if you work a job. Imagine if your boss gave you a 97% raise in income. That's your income doubling in 12 months. Put yourself in those shoes for a second. The type of mentality, the type of confidence that you build. I'm going somewhere with this, so remember what I'm trying to tie into. Just remember that I'm pointing all of these things out. Just put yourself in my shoes as we walk through these steps. Okay, so moving on from there. 2021, we got $1,194,310 in sales. Almost 1.2 million in sales for 2021. All right, total units sold, 119 units. That's 2 more units than 2020. My ROI was 15.36%. My year over year ROI went up by 1.26%, which is good. My year over year sales revenue went up by 151.6%. And my net income went up by 60.7%. So guys, again, put yourself in my shoes. I was 21 right here. My income went up by 97%. Okay, now I'm 22. My income goes up by another 60%. Guys, at this point, like at 22 years old, do you really think a 22-year-old can fathom that mentally, the proper like maturity to be in the right space to just be able to calm himself down and be like, okay, all right. You know, you got to understand the type of confidence you build. You move really, really fast making that type of money. So this column right here is very important because this is when inflation was at its, I wouldn't say peak. I think it peaked early 2022, but this is when it was getting to its peak. So pretty much 2020 and 2021, you got to understand these are what I call these are fake markets. These are artificial markets. This economy is artificial. So that's why these two columns are so important, because the numbers are so big, they're so inflated, but it's because you could pretty much sell anything within those 2 years. A little bit of 2022 was like that, but we'll talk about that in a second. But remember that when you're talking about those 2 years, that's why I'm trying to say, put yourself in my shoes at the age I was at. Even now, I'm not saying I'm just old as hell now, but just put yourself in those shoes, because what I'm learning at that age is not the right thing to transfer into a business. What I was learning was I could buy anything and I could sell anything. When I was already learning good habits right here, 2019, that's why I said, remember this number, because 2019, I was learning really, really good habits. But 2020 and 2021 come along, we get this artificial market, and I start to learn the wrong things, right? Like, man, you could buy anything, you could sell anything, you could put your price on, you're going to make the money, buy that, sell that, do this, do that. You know what I'm saying? You're going to make the money, right? Okay, now let's move on. Now we go into 2022, right? So this is when inflation hits its peak. And I believe the peak was like 9%, 8%, 9%, right? So 1.1 million is what I did in sales. 1,147,103. That's what I did in sales revenue 2022. I sold a total of 93 units. So that is a decrease by almost 20 units, by more than 20 units from the previous year. And also my ROI was only 10.18%. I just said inflation peaked at 8 to 9%. That's like a high. Inflation was insane at this point, right? So now my ROI went down year over year by 5%, which is terrible, man. For me to be going, picture this, man. So 2021 inflation was getting to its peak, and then 2022 you get to the peak, but your income is going down. The amount of money you're making per unit is going down at that same time because the market is adjusting on you. So if you bought a unit, like 2022 was a year where you could buy a car or buy a truck. I would buy a truck, and then 3 months later, the market would be completely different. So if I bought a truck for $14,000, 3 months later, the truck will only be worth $13,000. You know what I'm saying? So I would have to take $1,000 loss, $2,000 loss if I recondition that unit, maybe even a $3,000 loss because the market was continuously adjusting on me, right? All right, so here, sales revenue went down by 3.95%. So everything is pretty much going down right here. Everything is trying to adjust back to like reality, right? Because here is just inflated numbers. Also, this is an early growth in my business. This is when I'm, getting things going because it's like the start, the middle, then we get into it, you know what I'm saying? So these numbers are going to be high in general if you're doing the right thing in business. You will see a jump like that early on, but for us to see a negative, all these negatives like this says a lot about the state of the economy at this point. And also what I was trying to figure things out a lot throughout the year of 2022, right? Okay, so we got a negative net income of, not negative income, but my income went down by 32.18%. So keep in mind, my income went up these 2 years, but now my income goes down. Okay, so imagine me coming from here, like pretty much on the high horse. Imagine me coming from a high horse, then 2022 come along, I sit down, I do my numbers right, I do all my calculations, and then I see a negative 32.18% decrease in my income. So now I'm 24 years old, 23 years old, whatever the case may be. I'm like, damn, what did I do? What did I do wrong? Well, I sat down and I thought about it. I said, I don't think I did anything wrong. I just learned what I learned. And what I learned was artificial things. I learned bad things, but the economy taught me the wrong things, right? Early on in my youth, in business, maneuvering, I'm still making money, but the things that I learned were wrong. Okay, so now let's transition into 2023. Now, that's just this past year, right? All right, so like I was saying, guys, imagine where I was at adding all this up. So imagine where my confidence is going into 2023, right? That's why this year is so important to me, because I remember just a year ago, January 1st, 2023, I remember the mentality that I had. I remember the mind state that I was in going into 2023, and it was not here. It's not where I'm at all. I was very down going into 2023. Nobody knew that, but my mentality was very down. My confidence was down because I was looking at all this. I was like, damn, I'm still doing $1 million in sales, but something ain't right. Something ain't right, dog. I understand numbers. I understand business. Guys, I did all this in like 40 minutes. You know what I'm saying? This is like 5-year tracking of an entire business, and I did it in 40 minutes. So I understand numbers really, really well. So imagine like how much I had to humble myself right here. So going into 2023, I had to really sit back and say, okay, we got to slow down, Ant. We got to slow down, and we got to really take our time, and we got to look inside the business and figure out how we can make adjustments. Because you got to at least, I knew I need to at least, if I did 10% that year, I was thinking in my head, I got to at least do 14 again from 2020, right? I got to at least get here. Of course, the goal is to get here. That's the goal. The goal is 20% in the car business. And that's like when you're like really good. If you can make 20% average ROI in the car business, that's like really, really good in the car business, because you got to understand car business is a very difficult business. So the fact that I was doing that when I first started is a really good indicator, but we're going to come back to that. Anyway, so I'm having to humble myself right here. coming out of 2022, going into 2023, I got to humble myself. I got to pipe down a little bit. All right, so 2023, we get through that year. We do $989,526 in sales. Almost $1 million. You're 11 grand short from $1 million, which is fine. My goal was to do $1 million, but obviously my goal was not sales revenue based this year. 2023. My goal was income based in 2023. All right, so I sold a total of 83 units. ROI was 15.7%. That is a 5.52% increase from 2022. Now remember, I'm having to coming from that humble space. I had to pipe myself down, but now I'm getting the rhythm. I'm getting back in rhythm. I'm getting the flow for what we got going on. My year-over-year sales revenue went down by 13.74%, which is okay because the sales revenue is what was tearing my mental up. It's because I'm doing so much of sales revenue, but something ain't right in my income. Now, this is very important. This is the most important number right here for the year of 2023. My net income went up by 26.65%. So what that says is, and we'll go over these graphs right here underneath so I can give you a better understanding of how I'm tracking this, so you can have a better understanding. But my net income went up by 26.65%, which is very, very good. Really, really good. Because for me to go down negative 32% in 2022 and then to do pretty much the opposite, close to that and positive, and to go up by that is really, really, really good. All right. So let's come over here to these graphs really, really quick so you can get a better understanding. All right. So guys, what you got to understand is this is my first time ever being able to do a 5-year tracking of my J. Anthony's Auto Sales business, because 2023 marked an official 5 years that I have been in business, right? So right here, I'm showing I started at 300,000. That's why it's right here, right in between 0 and 600K. I don't know. I'm trying to break it down for the people who understand how to read graphs. This is probably easy to read, but I'm going to kind of simplify it for the people who don't really understand how to read graphs. So right here, I have 0 to 1.2 million because 1.2 million being my peak in sales revenue. 600K being the midpoint and 0, of course, being the bottom. And then right here, I have 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, which are tracking all 5 years that I'm showcasing to you in this presentation. 2019, 2021, so on and so forth. All right, so here we have 300K, which is in between 0 and 600K. That was 2019. Here, 2020, we're going up. We're going up. What we got? 787,000. 2021, we're going up. We're going up. We got 1.1, which is almost 1.2 million in sales right here. Okay, we hit a peak. This is very important when you're looking at a graph. Every graph has a peak. Every graph, whether it's a peak where it's a bottom out peak or it's a top end peak. This is a top end peak that we're talking about here. We don't have enough track record to talk about a bottom end peak because there is no bottom end peak because it's going up, down, and then back up right here. So 2022, we start to level out. We're at 1.1, the bottom of 1.1, but it's really still the same. You know what I'm saying? We're still hitting that 1.2 million midpoint in sales. Okay, here. We drop in 2023 to right under $1 million. And then we kind of bottom out. I can't go anywhere from there because I don't have any more track record to go on for because we're going into 2024, right? So the graph ends. So we end here at about $1 million, 989,000. That's where we end at. All right, let's move over to the J. Anthony ROI graph. This graph is going to give you a better representation of where I peaked at in like ROI, return on investment, and also show you where I bottom end at and where I recovered at. We'll do that in the income graph as well. So here we've got 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. That is the showcase. That's you mark the graph by, I don't have the lines here, but you mark the graph by the year and you mark the graph by your numbers. So here you got 0% all the way up to 20%, 20% being the peak. That the most that I've ever hit was 18.76%. So you just put 20 at the top of the graph and you kind of find your point from there, right? All right, so here we've got 18.6% in 2019, which is the peak. From here, it pretty much goes down. Okay, so 2020, we go down to 14% right here. Then 2021, we go back up to 15%. And then 2022, we go down all the way down to 10%. So this is a very important part of this graph, because this is the bottom out. This is a bottom out in the graph. All right, so now we're going to talk about recovery. This point, all of this right here is called recovery, because from this point, I'm getting back to my point to where I want to get to, because at the end, I want to get to 20%. I've already did it. I've already got the 18.76%. So you can see me going through the year trying to get back. I'm trying to fight. Just picture me in business, running my business, trying to fight to get back up here. I'm trying to fight. I'm trying to get back up there, right? That's business. That's entrepreneurship. That's the mentality you got to have when you look at a graph. I'm fighting. That's why I put recovery right here, because that's very important right here. Recovery is very important. It's very important for this graph, because this graph literally shows you how well I recovered coming out of a slump. 2022, looking at these graphs, it shows you 2022 was pretty much a slump year for me, man. Like 2022, I pretty much wasted the entire year trying to just recover and figure the business out. Like, damn, like I'm trying to adjust for real. Like I'm taking losses left and right. Like 2022 was a terrible year for me. So what we have, recovery right here, man. 2023 is like my year where I'm like, all right, I got it. Boom, I'm in here. You know what I'm saying? All right, so now we go to net income. All right, boom. So again, 2019 to 2023. So 0 being right here, and I put question marks right here because I'm not going to tell you the number that I make. Although, like I stated before, you can go inside all these numbers and double check and make sure. You could pretty much figure out what I make if you know how to plug and play. Anyway, all right, so right here we've got bottom end right here. This is with me starting out 2019. We've got oh yeah, I'm not telling you guys my income, so I remember what I made though, but it was low. It was low. Let's just say it was low. And then so here you can see as 2020 goes, I'm going up, and then 2021 I go all the way, like boom, boom, boom. Picture my mentality right here. Like I'm on the high horse, dog. Look at that climb. Look at the climb all the way to the top. That's why graphs are so important, because it shows you. It's like a mountain, bro. Like it shows you the climb. Look at that. Look how much gap distance that is in 1 year. That's a lot of distance. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I put peak income 2021, because that's very important. So that's the highest that's the most money I've ever made, 2021, right? All right. So here, now we go back down to 2022. We decrease in income. Although we do not bottom out. Very important. We do not bottom out right here, because we already bottomed out in 2019, because that's when we started. So the income problem, and when we talk about total figures, it's not bad. Although 2022 was a bad year, the income standpoint was not bad. The ROI was bad. But like when we talk about how much I really made, it was not bad. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not bottoming out right here. And I still made more than I did in 2020. All right. So here we go down. All right. 2023 come around. Recovery. Again, we're talking about recovery, which although it's not really as bad as a recovery as my ROI. My ROI recovery was like insane for me to like, that's pretty much me. This graph, the ROI graph is telling me I was finna fall off. Like I was finna go out of business right here. Like my ROI almost got down to exactly what inflation was. So it pretty much means when we talk about ROI, it was a break-even year. That's why recovery is so important right here. But in this instance, when you look at the total income, it kind of gives you a shift in perspective, because although it's still a recovery, but it's not a bottom out. You know what I'm saying? Guys, you got to understand the difference between these two, because these two are really tricky when you're talking about ROI versus income, because ROI is important because of inflation. You have to remember inflation, because when you go inside, let's say you put money into a Roth IRA or whatever, you got to be able to track your ROI in those markets, or your year over year, your return, guys, because inflation plays a part in that stuff. If you're only doing 6% a year in the market, then you ain't really doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if inflation is normally supposed to be 2%, and right now, although it's not that, it's close to it. You know what I'm saying? We're getting there, but that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be 2%. So ideally, if you could do 10%, 8% in the market, you still come out top end on 6%. So you're good. You're safe. You're protected from inflation, right? But for inflation to get to all the way up to 8, 9%, and I'm only making 10%, that ain't good, dog. You know what I'm saying? But now inflation is around 4%, and I did this year 15.7%. I'm gravy, dog. I'm still walking away with 11%. You know what I'm saying? I still got a pretty good gap right there. You know what I'm saying? We can talk turkey now, but 2022 we couldn't do that. We didn't have no leverage. So right here is very important because my income recovered back almost to that 2021 peak, and I missed it by just a little bit, but I'm getting back up there. So what this graph shows you, the most important part of these three graphs is the ROI graph right here, man, because this graph shows you that I am slowly trying to get back right here. And I showed you why it's a difference in between 2019 all the way into 2023 is because I was selling cheaper units and making the same margins versus me having to invest more nowadays based on things going up in value versus inflation and stuff like that. These trucks going up in value too, so I'm having to put more money out to make the same margins. You know what I'm saying? So the number one thing that I seen, and I didn't do it, I should have put it in this chart too, was my average return per vehicle, but I didn't want to put that in there because I think that's not really ideal to put out for a car dealership, is how much money you're making per unit. Although I probably do that in the coming years, but right now I don't think it's a good time for me to do that. But that increased very well for me too, but I'm not going to disclose it. My average return per vehicle went up by almost like 50%. Like it went up a lot. So I'm making more money per unit. 2023, I really learned how to do that. I really learned how to make more money. And the thing that showcases you that is because I'm selling less units. You can plug and play these numbers too right here. Look how my amount of units I'm selling is going down. But although my sales revenue is not really too much of a gap, when you're only talking about 10, 20 units difference. You see what I'm saying? And also my ROI and my year-over-year ROI, you got to look at that. And my net income is still good. You know what I'm saying? So that means I'm making more money per unit as the years go by. And that's typical when you have, when you build a platform, when you continue to build your platform in the used car business, you tend to be able to make more money per vehicle. And that is the beauty of the car business, is the platform that you build. So yeah, that's pretty much wraps up this entire diagram of this chart right here. I hope this gave you a better understanding of, you know, my business and how I operate and how I look at numbers and stuff like that, because I think if you're following this channel, and not only following my channel, following my business, if you're following my business, I think this is a very important video for you to watch, because you get to pretty much get a quick glimpse inside of my business, man. I'm literally showing it to you. You know what I'm saying? This is cutting plain sight. This ain't staged. Like, I just sat and talked this whole thing through with you. You know what I'm saying? So I hope this gave you a better understanding on that. But yeah, just keep that in mind when you're looking at sales, ROI, income. These all determine the valuation of a business, the success of a business. You have to be able to track those things from a 5-year or year-to-year standpoint. That's why this year was so important for me to track, is because I could finally do a 5-year graph. I couldn't do this before, although I could have did 2-year, 3-year, but ideally when you're talking business, it's in gaps of 5 years, because you know what they say, 80% of small businesses fail within 5 years. So when you have a tracking like this of 5 years, you can look inside your business and be like, okay, I'm doing pretty good. You know what I'm saying? You compare your first year to your fifth, you're like, okay, I'm doing all right. You know what I'm saying? You get to look inside your business. Like, I'm not headed in the direction that 80% of small businesses are. You know what I'm saying? So you got to look at it like that too. But yeah, man, I hope this gave you a better insight. All right, guys. So, man, I really appreciate you guys for tuning in to the channel. I hope this video was pretty informative to you, and I hope this gave you a better understanding of how I run my business, how I look at the numbers inside of my business. All I would ask is for a like and subscribe to the channel, and to continue to support the channel as we go through this new year. And like I talked about in previous videos, I will be focusing more on quality going through the year of 2024. So I will be trying to reach out more to my consumers, the people who follow my channel, to buy from you guys. I want to buy vehicles from y'all. You know, so if you're on YouTube, you watching my channel, you got a truck for sale, I want to buy your truck. You know, I want to do business with you guys. That's the whole purpose of me building a platform, is so I don't got to deal with the people out here. I can just deal with my platform. That's what I'm trying to get my business to. That's the whole purpose of YouTube. So I can just, man, we can do business together. We can work together. So if you got your truck for sale, man, hit me up. Let's talk numbers. You got an SS, you got a short bed single cab, you got an extended cab, low miles, you got a 2500 HD, low miles, one owner. I'm all in for that type of stuff. So keep that in mind, man.